Hi everyone, so today's slope-intercept form given 2 points this time. Our last set of notes we did where we were given a point and a slope. This set we're given just only 2 points. So our first thing that you guys need to write down are formulas to actually remember. Our slope formula is where we have m, still representing our slope, is equal to our y2 minus our y1 divided by our x2 minus our x1. And then our slope-intercept form again, which is our y equals mx plus b. Now, some of our steps on how we're going to go about doing this. Let's go ahead and write down the steps first before we actually do some examples. So our first step, you're going to list the known values, which is your x's and your y's, and we're going to say x1, y1, x2, y2. Once we find, in order to find our slope, our m, we're going to plug in those x2's and y2's and x1's and y1's into our actual slope formula, which you see here again. Then we're going to simplify our fraction if we need to. And then we're going to find, now we're going to actually use our b value, just like we did on our last notes. We're going to use our slope that we just found in step 2, and we're also going to use one of the points. It doesn't matter, you get to pick which point. We're going to plug that right back into our slope-intercept form, and then we get to repeat our steps like we did on our last set of our notes. We're going to find our b value, and then once we have then found our slope and our new v value, we get to write our new equation. Alright, here's the directions for our example, so go ahead and write this down. The slope-intercept form of write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line through the given points. So you're going to see that we have the word points where we have 2 of them. Well, these are the points that I actually gave you guys for this example. So we have 0, 3 as one point, and we have our -4, -3 as our next point. So what we're going to do is we're going to label our information here, x1, y1. The reason why we have to put 1's and 2's here this time is because we have 2 separate points. So we want to make sure that we know what we're actually talking about, because we can't just plug both x's and y's on both of them because we don't know which one would be which to plug into our formula. So now we have a list of our known values here. So y2 is going to be our -3, x2 is our -4, y1 is the 3, and x1 is 0. So now in order to find our slope, we're going to use that slope formula. We're going to plug in our y2 minus our y1. So we see that our y2 was -3, so -3, and then we have minus our y1, so -3. And then we have our x2 minus, actually let me actually write that again, just so we know that we're familiar with the formulas here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write y2 minus y1, and then we have our x2 minus our x1, just so we know where we're plugging in those values. So now let's actually plug them in. Our y2 is a -3, and then our y1 is a 3. Then we have our x2, which is a -4, minus my x1, which is 0. So now we're going to go ahead and simplify the numerator. The top, -3 minus 3 more, we get -6. And then on the bottom, -4 minus 0, we just get a -4. Okay, now we need to simplify this fraction if we can. Well, I see that 2 actually goes into both of these, so I'm going to divide both of them by 2. And I also know that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So now 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into 4 2 times. And I'm going to leave it positive because my negative divided negative turns into positive. So now using that information, we're going to continue on that same example. We're now going to plug in, we just got our slope of m equaling, let's go back and check what it was, 3/2. So m equaling 3/2. So now we're going to find b, we're going to plug in that x and y. You get to pick a point. I'm going to use this point because I think that one looks easier. And now we get to, since we're only using this one point to plug in our formula, I am going to plug that as of my x and my y. So when I do this, I just figured out my x and my y, and my slope is right here from my work that I did from my 2 points on the previous slide. So our y value we represented was 3 right here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the 3 for the y. Then my new slope that I just found was 3/2 that I just got to put in there. And then my x value is actually this 0 here. So now I'm going to plug in the 0, and making that anything times 0 is actually just 0. So this gets to be 0, this is 3. Well, my b is by itself, and I have a 0 here. So I actually don't have to do anything like adding or subtracting to get my b by itself, like we did in the last set of notes, and my b equals 3. So again, we just found both of our important things for this equation. We found our slope and we found our b value. So now that we have our m and our b, we're going to write our equation, making sure that we have our y and our x always in our equation here. We're going to plug in the m, which was our 3/2, and then our new b value, which we just found, which is 3. So again, we don't have these parentheses here normally, so we just want to clean it up a little bit more. So I'm going to have my 3/2 x plus 3. And that is my general formula right there. So in this set of notes, I actually gave you 2 points where we had to do an extra step. We had to use our slope formula of the y2 minus y1 divided by our x2 minus x1 to find our slope first. And then we were able to follow the steps from our previous set of notes where we were able to use one of the points. Again, it doesn't matter which point I used. You guys can choose whatever one you'd like. And then we used the slope we just found to plug in and find our b value. Once we found our b value and our slope, we were able to rewrite our regular slope-intercept form equation, making sure that we had our y and our x variables still in there. All right, you guys, until next time, have a good day.